What's going on YouTube? WestHobbiesRC. So today we are back with a video that quite a few of you guys have asked for, and that is what to do on a maiden flight, what to look for, what I do to have a perfect maiden, and we're going to go over all of that. So we have a SAB Goblin 700 Puma. Now this model is done for Frank. He sent me the helicopter. It was pretty much built, just had to get wired, finished, set up, all that stuff. So we did, of course, the full WestHobbiesRC wiring, built it as clean as possible, and now we are ready to fly it for the first flight. It is a 12S setup, same setup as the Puma that I fly. We're running X-Nova motor, 12S 3300. We have torque cyclics and tail servo Icon 2. We're flying on a Spectrum IX12, SRXL2, and a DSMX satellite. So what do we look for on our maiden flight? So the first thing we want to do is, of course, we did our Icon setup. So now the model is fully set up. We know our gyro direction is correct. So a very important thing when you're getting ready to do a maiden is to check that gyro direction. So if we pull the canopy off here and we go ahead and look at this gyro direction. So very, very important that when we tilt the nose up, swash plate goes forward. Tilt the nose down, swash plate goes backwards. We tilt it to the left, it goes right. To the right, it goes left. So now we know that our swash plate direction is right. Now we've already gone over the model, we've done our build, we know that everything is Loctited, tightened down perfectly. We have grease on our shafts, we have grease on our bearings. We know our motor direction is going right. Next thing we're gonna check is our tail direction. So now very important, and then also too, before we get to the tail, we need to make sure our controls are going right. So when we go positive pitch, we need to make sure that the leading edge of the blade goes up, trailing edge of the blade goes down, and that is the same on both blades. So we know our positive is right. When we go negative pitch, leading edge goes down, trailing edge goes up, and that's the same on both blades. So we know that our pitch is right, we know our positive and negative is there. Now we have already put a pitch gauge on this model, so we know that we have an equal positive and negative degrees. We are running 13.5 on this helicopter. That's what I personally set. You can run anything from 10 to 14, whatever you like. Now, we're gonna go left on our cyclic, we have left. We're gonna go right, we have right. We're gonna go back, we have back, forward, we have forward. So we know that our gyro direction is correct on the swash plate. We know that our control direction is correct on the swash plate. So now we're gonna move back to the tail. So now on the tail, we're gonna do the same thing. Now, something you can do to help you is to fold the top tail blade in. And the reason you do that is so it can point the direction that you are adding. So if we go right, it goes right. If we go left, it goes left. Another way to look is at the slider. So if we go right, the slider goes left. And that slider goes in the direction that it is going to push the tail, which entails moves the nose. So if we go right rudder, slider goes left, which is pushing the tail left, which moves the nose right. If we go right or left rudder, it's sliding the tail this way, pulling the tail to the right, pushing the nose to the left. So we know that our direction is correct on the stick. Now let's check our direction on the actual control of it, or on the gyro control. So we're gonna fold the top blade in, pick the tail up, we're gonna push the nose to the right, we should get left. We're gonna push the nose to the left, we get right. So all of our controls are right, and we are ready to fly. So now we're gonna go ahead and put the canopy back on. And basically, when I get ready to do a maiden, I check my gyro directions a bunch of times. I make sure that everything is good. Make sure that my canopy is locked. So when you push this canopy on and it locks, give it a tug. Make sure that that is perfect. So now we're ready to go and fly. So some of you guys that have been watching the channel for a long time will remember this flying area. And it unfortunately being built into some kind of complex, so we still have some room to fly. So now, if you're a beginner or you're new at doing this, you're gonna wanna start with the tail to you. So when we go to spool up, and I like to make sure my blades are somewhat straight, of course, as a helicopter spools, they will straighten out. So we're gonna have the tail to us. So we're gonna go ahead, we've already done our radio setup, we're gonna flip off throttle hold. Throttle hold is off, and we are going to start spooling. So what we are looking for is the helicopter to get light on its skids. So I'm gonna stay about negative pitch. Helicopter is spooling up. Now we're gonna get it light on the skids and we're gonna watch it. Get it light on the skids. You see how it's kind of light dancing? A little bit more positive. It's in the air. Very solid. What we're watching is to make sure the tail doesn't walk out. We're making sure that it doesn't try to tip. Now that's a hands-off hover. That is a very solid. Now we do have a slight little bit of tail wag, which we can tune out. So that's the first thing I'm gonna look for is tail wag. We do have a slight bit of tail wag. Next thing I'm gonna do is get a little bit of height, and I'm gonna see how controllable it is. It feels good. So if I'm moving the helicopter around, it feels nice. So now swash plate is level, because if we let off the pitch or off the sticks, it's level. Now it's a little windy, so it's gonna drag. It's gonna drift. Now the next thing we're gonna try is a pirouette. The helicopter is pretty much staying right there. If our swash plate was not level, as we did that pirouette, the helicopter would try to go hard one way or the other. So we know our swash plate's level. So now what we're gonna look for is tail stop. We're gonna let go, tail stops instantly. We're gonna do it the other way. Tail stops instantly. So in normal mode, our tail stop is feeling good. So now we're just gonna kind of get a feel of the helicopter. See how it feels. It's feeling good. Now we're gonna go into idle up 1. We're gonna do the same thing. We're looking at the tail wag. Got a little bit, we can adjust that out. We're gonna check the tail stop. Spin, let off, tail stops instantly. Tail stops instantly. So our tail stops are good. Now we're gonna check our tail walkout. So we're gonna go to full positive pitch, and our tail walks just a tiny bit. Okay, full positive pitch, and our tail walks just a little bit. So that is an adjustment in the icon, and I'm working on a how to tune icon video, and we'll go over all that. Everything feels good. So I'm flying the helicopter to see how I like it. See how it feels to me. Every person is different on how the helicopter is gonna feel. So you do your comfortability. So I'm basically just watching the tail. So I'm gonna pull up, kick the tail around, let off, come out. Try to do a hard cyclic stop, see how the tail responds. So my first thing I always check is tail response and how the tail feels. If I'm happy with the tail, then I start feeling about fast forward flight. Get on it, see if the helicopter tries to walk or shake. Do some fast regular flying. Nothing crazy. The helicopter's not pitching violently. It's not bobbling. Our cyclic gains feel good. Our tail control feels good. Also, something else to do, let me get it closer here, is start giving it some forward and do pirouettes. Just make sure it spins the same way in both directions. So now that was a left. Now we're gonna do the same thing, but we're gonna go right. So now the helicopter spins the same exact rotation in both directions. So that part of it's good. So right now, this is a fantastic flying helicopter. So I'm happy with the way this flies. It feels good. Need to do a little bit, but no tail walk. So now let's go into a higher head speed, our highest head speed, 2,000 RPM. We're gonna do the same thing. Check our tail, tail stop, tail stop. Now on the tail stops, we're also looking to make sure we don't get no bounce back. So what I mean by that is if you're spinning the tail and it does that, that's a bounce back. Now I just made it do that. So now you're gonna do the other way. If you stop the tail and it kind of comes back and then catches, that's bouncing back. Now I like to set my tail stops as hard as I can get them to go without bounce back. So now I'm happy with that. It's feeling good. Rotation speed feels good. Tail stops feel good. Get a little bit of hard forward. Make sure it's not bobbling or wobbling. Kick it down into a lower head speed. Helicopter's still feeling great. I mean, that is an incredibly solid model. A little bit of wind, so it's gonna drift. But I'm very happy with that. Now, as you build helicopters, you will learn what to look for in the build. Now, this is a bone stock icon setup. So this is exactly how it comes off of the software. Now, I always adjust my rotation speed, and I adjust some things like pitch lightning. I adjust a few other little parameters like pitch pre-comp, because after you've done it for so long, you kind of realize what, each helicopter needs. So now we're gonna go ahead and come in and land. And we're gonna go into our lowest head speed, which is normal mode. And that is 1500 RPM. No wobbling, no shaking. So now we're gonna set it down. So now that was a 5.5 minute actual flight. The Puma gets a really great flight time on 12S, barely pulls any kind of amperage or power, but I was very, very happy with that. So it flew fantastic. It did what it was supposed to do. Everything felt great. The model responded like it should. So now that is just what I personally look for on a helicopter maiden flight. Now, every maiden flight is gonna be different, but if you build it properly, if it's built right, Loctited, your linkages are right, your setup is right. I have multiple icon setup videos. All icon setups going to be pretty much the same for all helicopters. You might have to reverse or change a direction, but if you're building in a line, an XL Power, a Gowie, SAB, any of these helicopters, setup is going to be the same. If you take your time, you follow those videos, you build that icon or set that icon up the way it's supposed to be set up, the helicopter will fly just like you've seen. That was the maiden flight, fresh off the table, just set it up an hour ago, charged the pack, came out here and flew. Now a couple little adjustments need to be made on the tail pre-comp. That's normal. Again, I am working on an icon setup video that should be out very soon. Now that we got good weather, I can really get to the field and just fly and tune and fly and tune. So if you guys don't know, there is Patreon, there is PayPal. So if you guys enjoy these videos, if they're helpful to you, please consider joining the Patreon. It greatly helps me. It helps me build helicopters, fund future projects, rebuild helicopters when they crash. So I want to thank you guys who are Patreons. Thank you for being a Patreon. For the people that have donated a one-time donation to PayPal, which will be linked in the description below as well, thank you guys. It helps big time, and it helps fund this channel and bring you guys videos and helicopters to do this, because it is very expensive to keep up with all these models. And if you guys don't know, I do build for people. So if you would like me to build your helicopter, set your helicopter up, wire it, fly it, tune it, fix it, anything, check out the email in the description below. If you'd like to send anything to the channel, old helicopter you don't want no more, anything like that, email in the description. And I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you haven't already, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Take care and have a great day.